Tonight, we're going to tell you a story. A particularly chilling story that unfolded, well, in the shadows of Germany. It's the dark narrative of a figure known as the Vampire of Hanover. And just to be clear, this isn't an in-depth analysis, not really a deep dive tonight. We're here to tell the story. Pure, unsettling storytelling.
A truly grim tale from German history, yeah.
Our focus is Fritz Haarmann. He was a German serial killer, and his name, well, it still evokes a real sense of horror.
Understandably so.
The name he earned, Vampire of Hanover, kind of hints at the terrifying nature of his crimes, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
We're talking about over 27 individuals who just disappeared. Their lives ended violently, often with this horrifying signature, a bite to the throat, specifically targeting the Adam's apple.
A disturbingly intimate method of attack. Very personal.
And as we recount the events of Haarmann's life, starting right from his early years, well, you'll see the disturbing elements that sort of coalesce that form this monster. So prepare yourself. The details are quite unsettling.
Let's start at the beginning then. His entry into the world.
Okay. Friedrich Heinrich Karl Haarmann. He was born October 25, 1879 in Hanover, Germany. He was the youngest of 6 children, born to Holly Haarmann and Johanna Kraut. But his early life was far from, serene. His mother, Johanna, she was often unwell, and she actually became bedridden shortly after Fritz was born.
A difficult start then, right within the family.
Yeah, and the marriage itself, reportedly, it was kind of transactional.
Oh.
It said his father, Holly, was mainly interested in Johanna's family wealth. That seemed to be the main driver more than affection. They had a 7-year age gap, too.
Right.
And Holly's behavior as a husband, as a father, by all accounts, it was deplorable. Neglected his work, drank heavily, had affairs.
That creates such a toxic environment.
And disturbingly, there were even rumors that he brought syphilis into the family.
Wow. Okay. So a really unstable home for young Fritz.
Yeah. In contrast, though, Johanna's parenting, well, limited by her health, but it was apparently very permissive. She seemed to just give the children whatever they wanted.
Maybe compensating, perhaps? Or just her nature?
Could be. Regardless, Fritz became very close with his mother and his sisters. Right. He seemed to find comfort there.
So his primary emotional connections were more on the maternal side.
It seems so. And quite early on, Haarmann identified as gay. This showed in his preference for activities that back then were considered feminine.
Like what?
Playing with dolls, dressing up, enjoying cooking, sewing, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And while his mother and sisters seemed to accept this, his father reacted very negatively. Strong disapproval.
The father again.
Yes. He tried to cure him, sending him repeatedly to community mental asylums.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, experiences Haarmann deeply resented. He was scarred by that.
I can only imagine. Those early rejections, the trauma of the asylums, that must have had a profound impact.
And there's another unsettling thing from his childhood, a game he played with his siblings.
What was that?
Tying them up.
Right.
Now, maybe it was just childish play, but looking back, you could see it as an early sign of wanting control, restraint.
It is unsettling, isn't it? Especially knowing what came later.
So when Haarmann started school, he didn't really stand out much. Academically, unremarkable, not involved in many activities, just a quiet kid in the classroom.
Sort of faded into the background then.
Pretty much. But teachers did notice things. His effeminate mannerisms, which, like we said, caused friction with his father. They also saw him as spoiled, probably because of his mother's permissive style. And academically, yeah, he struggled, failed 2 grades.
So unremarkable, but with those noticeable traits.
Then, later in life, Haarmann made this really disturbing claim. He said that at age 8, a teacher sexually abused him.
Oh.
And he actually offered this as an explanation for his own later abusive behavior, like trying to rationalize it, maybe.
It's a serious claim.
Very serious. But it's important to say it was never verified. No confirmation from anywhere else.
Okay, so an unconfirmed allegation.
Right. At 15, he left school, became a locksmith's apprentice, but that didn't last. Quit before a year was up.
Seemed unable to stick to a conventional path.
Then, April 1895, a bit of a surprise. He joined military training. Young, but apparently physically strong, adapted well, became a good soldier, for a while anyway.
An unexpected period of, what, stability? Success, even?
For a short time. It only lasted about 5 months. Then the epileptic seizures started.
The seizures again.
Yeah, a recurring issue. So, military career over. He went back to Hanover, worked in his father's cigar factory.
Back to the environment he'd tried to leave.
And around age 17, things took a darker turn. He started luring young men at the factory, sexually abusing them.
Okay, this is a clear escalation. More serious offenses now.
Definitely. In 1896, he got arrested for it, but instead of prison, the focus was on his homosexuality.
Right, treated as a mental illness back then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
February 1897, sent to a psychiatric institution again.
The very place he hated.
Diagnosis. Incurable homosexual inclination. He was confined, but his mother used her connections, got him out after about 7 months.
Right.
That experience really solidified things for him. He vowed, absolutely vowed, never to return to a place like that.
That confinement probably just fueled more resentment, more distrust of authority.
Probably. His mother then took him to Switzerland, tried for a fresh start. He worked as a ship mechanic there for about 18 months. They came back to Hanover in 1899. Fritz was 20 then.
A brief change of scene, but the underlying issues still there.
Seems so. 1900 brought something that looked, on the surface, conventional. He got engaged to a woman named Erna Los. She was pregnant.
A hint of a more traditional life path, maybe?
Maybe, but it was fleeting. October 1900, he just abandoned her, left his pregnant fiancée,
Wow.
and rejoined the military. He later said that was the happiest time of his life, serving as a rifleman.
His priorities were clearly elsewhere.
Yeah, but by late 1902, the seizures were back. This time, a new diagnosis, dementia precox.
An older term, right? Sort of an early understanding of schizophrenia or psychosis.
Exactly. That's what led to his second discharge from the military. He returned to Hanover in 1902, got a military pension until he was 25.
So his health remained this constant disruptive factor.
Absolutely. And his relationship with his father, still tense. The father wanted him institutionalized again.
Constant conflict.
Around age 25, that engagement with Erna Luss finally ended. His infidelity with men, which he openly admitted, was the cause.
Just instability all around in his personal life.
Completely. So family life gone, pension ending.
Yeah.
He turned fully to crime. Thief, con artist, the earlier stuff just escalated.
Marked a definite shift towards a life of just crime.
Then, 1914, arrested for robbery, sentenced to 5 years.
Right.
But World War I changed things. He was released early after maybe 2 years because of wartime demands, got a job in a factory.
So the war gave him an early out.
It did. And it was in his 30s that he developed this really disturbing strategy. He started cultivating connections with the police, became an informant.
While still committing crimes himself.
Exactly. A dangerous game, double dealing. He'd inform on petty criminals, sometimes his own accomplices, after taking his cut, just to gain favor and, well, protection.
Wow. Exploiting the system.
Totally. And all the while, he continued sexually abusing young men, targeting the most vulnerable ones, homeless, runaways, refugees.
People whose disappearances wouldn't cause much alarm. Less likely to be investigated properly.
Precisely. He preyed on those with the least support. Now, at this stage, as awful as it was, he was primarily a sexual abuser.
But that changed.
That changed with Friedel R., a 17-year-old runaway. Last seen September 25, 1918.
Yeah.
Haarmann lured him from Hanover train station, a place we'll hear about again, to his apartment, abused him, and then strangled him. This was the first recorded murder, a horrible turning point.
The escalation to murder. That's a horrific new stage.
And chillingly, immediately after killing Friedel, he lured a 13-year-old boy to the apartment. Abused him too.
God, his depravity just seemed boundless.
It was that second act, the abuse of the 13-year-old, that led to an arrest, but not for the murder.
How so?
Police investigating Friedel's disappearance eventually tracked things to Haarmann's place. They found Haarmann naked in bed with the 13-year-old boy.
Oh my God.
So he was arrested for child sexual abuse, but the connection to Friedel, the missing boy, the murder victim, they missed it, completely missed it.
A catastrophic failure in the investigation. Tragic. That allowed him to continue.
Absolutely. He only served 9 months for that sexual abuse charge.
Wow.
And during that time, Friedel's severed head, it was hidden in Haarmann's kitchen stove.
Why he was in prison.
While he was in prison. The full horror, undiscovered. It just underscores how badly the police missed the signs.
That is a truly grotesque detail.
Yeah.
Highlights the failure of that initial investigation.
So he's released in October 1919, and he becomes infatuated with an 18-year-old named Hans Granz.
Okay.
Their relationship was complex and very unbalanced. Haarmann seemed to want a life partner, but Granz, who actually preferred women, basically just used Haarmann.
Used him how?
For shelter, money, support. While seeing other people, he even brought women back to Haarmann's apartment, had sex with them there, sometimes kicked Haarmann out.
Wow. Toxic doesn't even begin to cover it.
Right. But Haarmann stayed devoted, despite everything.
Speaks to a desperate need for connection, maybe? Even
Yeah.
a destructive one.
Perhaps. And throughout this period, Haarmann kept up his double life. police informant, petty criminal, had a few short prison stints here and there. In 1922, he moved, got a quieter apartment in Hanover. He was living off state welfare, claiming mental illness and the money he got as an informant, building this facade.
Carefully constructing a seemingly normal life to hide the darkness.
Exactly. He cultivated this image. Kind gentleman, maybe even a bit wealthy, someone who helped the needy.
Which made it easier to lure victims.
Precisely. Exploiting trust for horrific purposes. Using that appearance of kindness to mask well, everything else.
Utter depravity.
The second official victim we know about was 17-year-old Willie Funke. We'll just call him Funke. Haarmann met him at Hanover train station again in 1923.
The train station. His hunting ground.
He took Funke to his apartment, and when they got there, they found Hans Granz with 2 women.
Okay.
And disturbingly, Granz seemed to know what was about to happen. He apparently whispered to the women that Funk would be abused, then he just left with them.
So Granz knew. His complicity, even passive. That's deeply disturbing. His indifference is chilling.
It is. Haarmann abused and killed Funke. The next morning, Granz comes back, sees Funke's dead body, and just asks Haarmann what time he should come back later.
He just saw the body and asked about his schedule. That suggests a terrifying level of awareness, maybe even outright complicity.
It certainly points to a disturbing normalization of the violence, doesn't it? It raises serious questions about Granz's involvement.
Definitely.
The scale of the murders in 1923 was just staggering. He's believed to have killed about 13 victims that year, aged 13 to 19, roughly 1 a month.
1 a month.
And then it got worse. The first 6 months of 1924, another 13 victims estimated, aged 11 to 22. That's over 2 a month.
My God.
So in total, estimates range from 26 to 27 young men and boys, ages 11 to 22. It's almost unimaginable brutality.
A truly horrific reign of terror in such a short time.
And the victims, they shared grim similarities, mostly young male runaways, homeless kids, orphans, often picked up at the Hanover train station.
He targeted those with the fewest resources, the least support, exploiting their vulnerability, their lack of a safety net.
Yeah. His methods for luring them varied. Posing as a state investigator sometimes, offering a job, offering a place to stay. And he referred to them, chillingly, as just boys or dolls.
Dehumanizing them.
Yeah.
Stripping them of their identity to make his actions easier. A common tactic.
Exactly. His MO involved confinement, repeated rape, and that signature, the bite mark on the Adam's apple.
Horrifying.
Sometimes it was so savage it tore the flesh, severed blood vessels. Death came from blood loss or strangulation. Just a gruesome, terrifying way to kill.
A truly disturbing and personal kind of violence.
Haarmann himself talked about disposing of the bodies, said he disliked the work, called it tiresome and difficult.
Tiresome.
Yeah. Admitted he needed a cup of black coffee beforehand to steel himself for it.
The banality of it all. That mundane detail against the sheer horror. It's shocking.
He described the process. Placing the body face down, cloth over the head, cutting open the abdomen, removing organs into a bucket, crushing ribs, severing limbs, possibly skinning the torso.
Oh.
Smashing the face with an axe to prevent identification, removing the brain, then discarding the parts in the Lane River, just scattering them around the city.
A systematic, brutal process of disposal. Utter dehumanization. A chillingly efficient way to hide his crimes.
His actions earned him nicknames. The Vampire of Hanover, obviously. The Wolf Killer. The Butcher, each name reflecting a different facet of the terror he caused.
Those names really capture the public's horrified fascination.
And during this time, there was this disturbing local rumor going around Hanover, talk of minced meat tins, human flesh, being sold. Now, whether that was actually true or directly linked to Haarmann, it's unconfirmed. But it added another layer of horror to the atmosphere.
A chilling urban legend. Speaks volumes about the fear gripping the city. That deep sense of unease and suspicion.
Definitely. 1924, you could feel the dread in Hanover. Economic hardship was bad, and these rumors of cannibalism just fueled the tension. The city was already on edge.
The existing social anxieties probably just amplified the fear around the disappearances.
And it was against this backdrop that his reign of terror started to unravel. May 17th, 1924. 2 kids playing near the Lane River found something.
What was it?
A human skull.
Oh.
Then more skulls, more bones turned up in June. The river was giving up its secrets. Public pressure on the police intensified massively.
The discovery of remains finally forced them to confront the possibility of a serial killer.
Expert examination confirmed it. The skulls were cleanly severed from the necks, sharp object, clear sign of deliberate, repeated violence.
Indicated a calculated, methodical killer.
They started analyzing missing persons cases. Timeline analysis connected 5 of Haarmann's presumed victims to these discoveries in May and June.
The net was tightening. Pieces coming together.
The physical evidence started backing up the suspicions. Police focused on known criminals in Hanover with a history of sexual offenses against young men.
And Haarmann's name would be on that list.
It was. His past made him a prime suspect, a logical person of interest.
Right.
The picture they had of him was unsettling. Middle-aged, effeminate gay man, small but stocky build, known for baking, cooking, spoke in this mumbling voice like an elderly woman. And of course, he was a police informant.
Blending in almost. His seemingly innocuous exterior masking something monstrous.
Exactly. The break came June 2010th, 1924. Plainclothes police were following Haarmann. They saw him arguing with a 15-year-old boy, Carl Frome, at the train station.
The train station again. His hunting ground.
Frome was accusing Haarmann, said he'd kidnapped him, raped him, held him at knife point for 4 days. Frome had escaped. Haarmann tried to bluff. Claimed he was arresting Frome for using forged documents.
His lies started to crumble right there. His facade just shattered under direct confrontation.
Police arrested Haarmann, searched his apartment, found bloodstains, floor, walls, bed, and lots of secondhand clothes belonging to young men.
Physical evidence.
Yeah.
Incriminating evidence he couldn't explain away.
He tried, though. Claimed the blood was from a meatpacking business he supposedly ran. The clothes just from his secondhand sales sideline. He admitted having relations with young men, but denied murder.
Weak explanations lacked credibility against the evidence.
And then neighbors talked, testified about seeing young men going into his apartment frequently, seeing Haarmann carrying heavy sacks down to the river at night.
Eyewitness accounts. Grim picture. Their testimony provided crucial corroboration for the disposal methods.
Police publicized the clothes they found, and parents of missing boys started coming forward, identifying items. Heart-wrenching. The true horror, the scale of it, began to dawn on everyone.
The realization must have sent shockwaves through Hanover. Just the sheer number of victims.
After 8 days in custody, Haarmann confessed. The dam finally broke. He even offered to show police where he disposed of the bodies, and he implicated Granz.
Under pressure, the truth finally came out.
During interrogation, he tried to frame it. Claimed uncontrollable sexual urges drove him, said he didn't even remember the killings themselves, but dismemberment was just necessary.
A disturbing attempt to evade responsibility, portraying himself as a victim of his urges, not a conscious killer.
Right. Haarmann and Granz were put on trial. It was a huge spectacle, gripped the whole nation. Haarmann's behavior in court was erratic, sometimes denying he knew victims, making sarcastic remarks. Evidence pointed to at least 27 deaths.
Macabre, unsettling courtroom drama. His behavior highlighted his disturbed state.
The court found Haarmann responsible for 24 murders, sentenced him to death by decapitation.
And his reaction?
He accepted it, said he preferred death to going back to a mental asylum.
A chilling acceptance, almost like finding a perverse control and choosing his end.
Granz was also initially sentenced to death, but his case took a different path.
The evidence against him was less direct, perhaps.
Less conclusive, yeah. Granz appealed, and his family produced this letter, supposedly from Haarmann.
Oh. What did it say?
It claimed Haarmann acted alone, confessed everything was his doing, also expressed resentment towards Granz, saying Granz hadn't helped him.
A mysterious piece of evidence. Its authenticity is debated, I imagine. Introduced significant doubt about Granz's direct role in the murders themselves.
Exactly. Ultimately, Granz's death sentence was overturned. Insufficient direct evidence. His subsequent fate, unknown, he just vanished from the record.
Escaped the ultimate penalty, but his involvement remains this dark question mark.
Our man, though. April 1925, he was beheaded by guillotine. His last words were reportedly of remorse and a declaration he didn't fear death.
A final statement. Leaves you wondering about the sincerity of that remorse.
Doesn't it? And disturbingly, after his execution, his brain was removed. Studied by a medical institute for decades, from 1925 all the way to 2014, before finally being cremated.
Wow. A chilling example of that scientific interest in extreme cases. The desire to understand the biological basis of such monstrosity.
His crimes, of course, left a mark on culture. Inspired Fritz Lang's classic film M Songs by the metal band 6 Feet Under. His evil found its way into art.
His notoriety continues to fascinate and disturb. Serves as a grim reminder of human cruelty.
And even more disturbingly, A cartoon character based on Haarmann actually appeared in a Hanover tourist guidebook between 2007 and 2009.
Seriously, a cartoon that's deeply insensitive, inappropriate.
Caused quite the controversy, as you can imagine. Highlights the ongoing, sometimes problematic way we engage with these dark figures.
Absolutely.
And today, you can actually take tours in Hanover related to his crimes. Similar to the Jack the Ripper tours in London, a dark chapter that still draws attention.
His legacy continues to cast a long shadow over the city.
So, we've reached the end of this very dark story. The horrific nature of Fritz Haarmann's crimes, the immense suffering he caused. It's undeniable. And as we've told his life story, you've heard about the potential factors, the disturbing elements that might have contributed to his transformation. It's crucial, we think, to remember the importance of learning from cases like this. Not to glorify the killer, obviously, but to try and better understand the darkness that can take root, and hopefully work towards preventing future tragedies.
Understanding these dark histories, however disturbing, can offer valuable lessons about human behavior, societal responses, everything.
Well, thank you for listening with us through this unsettling narrative. We should mention the information we shared today comes from various online sources, papers, documentaries, footage, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So if you noticed anything we missed or maybe got wrong, especially with some of the German names, apologies if pronunciations were off. Some sources were in German. Please feel free to share any corrections or additional info in the comments.
We always appreciate that.
We do. And as always, thank you for your support. If you found this story, well, compelling, please do give us a like, share it, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs.
It really helps us out.
It does. So until next time, take care of yourselves. Goodbye.
Stay safe out there.